These are the clouds and these are the mountains that surround this valley known as San Cristobal de las Chiapas, this town called San Cristobal de las Casas. You can see the mountains, it's in a valley. In 1994, January the 1st, when the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, was instituted and came into implementation on January the 1st, there was an armed uprising that took place in this territory that resulted in the deaths of 200, 300, some people say up to 500 soldiers died in that battle, in those battles in January of 1994. Indigena no toca, Tupac Enrique Acosta. I'm speaking to you this morning, which is now the morning of May the 30th, calendar of Pope Gregory. And we keep bringing that up in terms of how we're situating these reportings because, of course, we have our own calendar. We have our own way of counting for our life on earth, our generation of earth, our people of the earth, who we are. And in our case, the way Talnamic, Tonamat, Tonal Amat, Tonal Amat, you can see it. There's my name in case you didn't know who's talking to you now. That's a symbol for the year. You see the numbers? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Se, Ome, Yei, Nawi, Makwili, Kali, Shiwi. The year 5 house. There's the symbol right there, the number. This is the year in our calendar. This is the day and the time in our calendar. So January the 1st of a calendar, somebody else invented it. We didn't do that one. Janus, God from the Roman days, no? Roman times. For us, the new year always it begins in the springtime. And so forth, we have our counts like that. But there is something definitely, what we're talking about here in 94, that it happened. It just happened again yesterday, the uprising of the indigenous peoples of Mexico with the Ejército Zapatista de Liberación Nacional, the EZLN. It's an army, an indigenous army that is at the service for the protection and the defense of the indigenous peoples. There was another uprising again yesterday in this community, in this town. The uprising was called the formation of the Consejo Indigena de Gobierno for Mexico, the Indigenous Governing Council of Mexico. There was an indigenous woman, Maria de Jesus Patricio, who was nominated to be the spokesperson for this movement going forward. You can see that the staff that he's carrying is a symbol of the traditional ancestral authority of the original nations, pueblos originales de Mexico. And you can see that the Zapatistas are in the background. They're in the background this time. From the back, they're supporting and standing up with the indigenous movement that has came together here in Chiapas, Mexico, in this month of May. January the 26th, 27th, 28th. This is their symbol. CNI means Congreso Nacional Indigena. So why this message here today is important because of this. And this is a message to you. This is a message to you, all of you who were there at the spiritual monument of Standing Rock. And especially those of you who were there on February the 22nd and the 23rd, when the military formations of the U.S. government, the state of South Dakota, the local police, the armed security apparatus of the corporate state came into the camp at Standing Rock on the plain of the river at the side of the Cannonball and confluence of the Missouri to protect the drill pad that was already in place across the way at the Dakota Access Pipeline where they were going to go under the Missouri River. This here is it. That fire that was lit there, those songs that were sung, and that journey that was begun again. It didn't end on the 22nd of February. It didn't end on the 23rd of February. It was begun again. And that sacred fire and that cedar, a flat cedar that was shared to us and with us, we brought it here. It was shared with our relatives here. Our relatives of the Congreso Nacional Indigena, our relatives of the Zapatistas, our relatives of the traditional authorities of the original nations of what is known as the Anahuac. And in this Anahuac, what were we saying? When the rain falls, and what befalls, the arrival of the sacred water of life as she befalls upon the Mother Earth, well then what happens? There's a communication with the original nations, all of us, not just the human beings, the trees, every living being that depends on that sacred water falling from the sacred sky to begin again the journey like we did at Standing Rock on February 22nd, 23rd, from the spiritual monument at Standing Rock. And these journeys begin again through the waterways, the world waterways, World Water One, of every single river that goes back again to the Grandmother Sea, because there's not no seven seas. It's World Water One. And there again to continue and fulfill the journey to the cloud nations. And what is to befall is what has happened now. We are still here. The Nicantraca, the original nations, the original peoples, the original water protector nations are still standing. And not only are we standing, we are praying, and we are dancing, and we are singing, and we are defending. We are defending the gorge of Mother Earth. That's what it means. That's what this is. This is a gourd. People call it calendar of the Aztec. It's a gourd of time. It's a gourd of the days, of the months, of the years, of the generations, of the cycles of the planets and the stars that brings us together as beings of Mother Earth. One of the symbols of this struggle that happened in 1994 was a confrontation, not only among the armed figures, but you see it was the women who stood up to those military forces. And you can see that this gentleman here, this brother here, that's one of our people, went over to the dark side. The women are not so much that they're pushing him away. They're trying to waken him up, and they're trying to pull him over to our side again. But they have to stop him. They have to arrest him. They have to stop him. They have to arrest him. The system of the capitalistic exploitation and expropriation of the natural resources and labor of the indigenous peoples of Mexico that's been going on for 524 years has to be arrested. It has to be stopped, and that's what's happening. You see the arms there. There's two arms, the two arms of the lady. But you see that small one there. There's a young generation there. That's her head. She's also part of this fight, and that's why this message is being sent out again now here. Because as this Congreso Nacional Indigena, the Indigenous National Congress, is being constituted and formulated here in Mexico City, there's trade representatives from the Canadian government discussing the modifications to the North American Free Trade Agreement that was instituted on January the 1st of 1994. And against that, violent violation of our right of free, prior, and informed consent, we are standing together here from Chiapas, Mexico, and sending a call to all the water defender nations to the north that we have to stand together as original water defender nations from Mexico to Canada against these modifications to the North American Free Trade Agreement of 1994, which was never constituted, was never consulted with our indigenous nations to get our approval, consent, or consultation in appropriate manner. The UN Declaration on the Right of Indigenous Peoples 2007, that was 94, 6, and another 7, 13 years after NAFTA. So if there are going to be any modifications to the North American Free Trade Agreement, you have to start with the first clarification. And it has to be a demand. It is a demand. It's the demand of Standing Rock. It's the demand of the water defender nations that are standing against the Kinder Morgan pipeline extension in the unceded Sequepem territories in the north, on the north side of the U.S.-Canadian medicine line. It's the fight against the uranium mining at the Grand Canyon that the Havasupai are now taking. It's a fight against the gas line that emerges on the Arizona side of the U.S.-Mexico border and cuts across the Yaqui territories into Mexico. It's a fight against the desecration at Oak Flat by the copper mining consortium corporations. It's a fight against all the meta-national corporations, these corporations that have no loyalty to any human constituency of any country, of any culture on the planet of the world. Their only allegiance is to the capitalistic system of exploitation and expropriation of the natural resources and labor of the original nations of Mother Earth on this continent and on every continent. So yesterday when we prepared our message and were presented to the Consejo Indigena de Gobierno para Mexico, the government structure of the indigenous peoples of Mexico for Mexico, it was, in a very real sense, a historical and a revolutionary moment. Because instead of uprising in armed struggle with the arms of weaponry, of death, rifles, bullets, and guns, the uprising that occurred here yesterday was a spiritual uprising accompanied by a cultural regeneration of our relationships as still standing original water defender nations of the continent of Aviala. The message was brought here. The cedar from the spiritual monument of Standing Rock was brought here. The copal of the Izcaloteca was brought here. The sacred soil of the Huehuecoyotl from the heart and the heart of the Grand Canyon was brought here. And the sacred songs of the nations of the Confederacy of the Eagle were brought here, and they were exchanged and received, and we were also given a moment to exchange our best wishes and solidarity for the original nations of Mexico as they stand up once again here today in San Cristobal de las Casas, as they did in January the 1st, 1994, in a full-fledged uprising, spiritual, material, cultural, political, and also to the stars. The star nation of the eagle of the north, the star nation of the condor of the south, and their allies of the buffalo, of the salmon, of the deer, of the coyote, of the jaguar, of the puma, of the boa, the four-legged and the two-legged, and those in the waterways. We stand together again. As we did back in '94, we have returned once again. We never really left. We've been here all along. But now the world attention is turning back towards this direction in Mexico, and that's what it means. The Xicali, it reads a gorge. That's the Xicali. Everything that you see there, that horizon, that horizon, that horizon, that horizon, that's the gourd of Mother Earth. every watershed is a gourd, but it's all a single, four gourds of one single sea of the Mother Earth. Today we stand together with our relatives in the south. We bring the message of the spiritual monument of Standing Rock, intending to return again, once again, as we know we will, back to that spiritual monument at Standing Rock, and also expecting that these relatives that we have here in the south will be with us once again, as they were already once before. And to this day, to this way, World Water Ways, World Water One, we say, Raso Kamati, many thank yous. Ka Kwali, it's all good. We say, may your day and may your journeys continue on, and we'll give another report later on in the day. This is Tupac Huehuecoyotl speaking to you from San Cristobal de las Casas on the emergence once again of the Consejo Indigena de Gobierno para México, the Indigenous Governing Council of Mexico, on the day, in the territory of the Maya and in the regions of the battalions and homesteads of the Ejército Zapatista de Liberación Nacional. Ayo.